Welcome to Texas Platinum, the last real water cooler talk shows on YouTube. Tonight, it is just Matt Myers and I. Matt Madrid, unfortunately, could not make it this week. But believe it or not, we have yet another Matt to add to the show a little bit later on in the show. So Matt is Matt Myers' good friend, big Clemson fan. So he's going to be on a little bit later to discuss the Clemson game. But first, we're going to go over kind of the SEC championship game as well as talk about just kind of the playoff picture at large. But before we get into it, please like, comment, subscribe, all the usual. Thank you for doing so. We greatly appreciate it. So, and I'll make sure that we include time codes in the description. So if you guys want to skip ahead, I know that the SEC championship has been a little while ago. So the Coles are just about dead, I feel like, on that, but we haven't got to discuss it yet. And obviously, some important things to discuss. But Myers, kind of give your opening thoughts on the SEC championship game. Obviously, a disappointment for us Texas fans, and not quite the performance that we hoped for, and still almost made it happen, even despite a lot of mistakes and flaws, but ultimately couldn't shut the door on Georgia.
Yeah, no. First of all, I want to say that game was a great SEC championship. People were flying around and hitting. I was talking to my friends about it, not even Texas or Georgia fans. They're like, that was one of the hardest hitting games I've seen in a long time. I feel like you're watching a game in the 80s or 90s. So that was fun to be a part of a game like that where everybody was flying around and the stakes were a little bit lessened because we both were in the playoff already, but you couldn't tell by the intensity on the field. Everybody wanted to win that game. And as a Texas fan, man, it was tough. It was infuriating. So many things went wrong, and it's kind of crazy, really, for how poorly we played, how lack of discipline, in terms of like penalties and drops, just so many things we did wrong, and we were still very close to winning that game. You think of the Gilbo missed block on that Jade Barron interception. That would have been an easy pick six if he just turns his head, and then that creates a whole different timeline for how that game would end. So many missed opportunities, and it sucks, man. You were that close to winning an SEC championship in year one. But hats off to Georgia. I know, like, I'm not going to act like it was all Texas is doing because Georgia owns us in the line of scrimmage. Just, I guess not both lines of scrimmage. They own us. They own our offensive line. Like, we could not run on these guys. They got to Quinn quite a bit, and I thought Quinn played pretty well for the most part. All things considered, but just left a lot of meat on the bone, and so many things went wrong. I'll pass it back to you, Trevor. But the good news is everything is still out there for us. We benefited arguably with our seeding now and our path to the national championship potentially. So there is some silver lining, but I really wanted that one, and we didn't get it.
Yeah. Initial thoughts is I've talked to a few different fans of different teams since the SEC championship game, a few of which have were are egg or can't even say the name right. A few of which are Aggies. And they're like, man, like we were rooting against you, but you guys made it close, and we're just glad that like you can't just go into the SEC the first year and win it all. And I hate that argument. I'm like, we were favored, dude. Like we're a top three, four, five team in the country. Like, yeah, most teams don't enter a conference as a top three, four, five team. Like, I don't know if that's ever happened, honestly. So yeah, I feel like, I hate that argument first off, and that's just the SEC, you know, homerism that we don't quite have yet. Maybe Texas fans will grow into that one day, but for now, the whole like, oh yeah, you got to earn it. You got to like, you can't just win it the first year. And anyway, just an opening initial thought, but I mean, you hit it right on the head, Myers. Um, this game was really a matter of a lot of costly mistakes, just dumb penalties, dumb errors, dropped balls, like you said. Countless plays. Obviously, we'll get into Quinn's performance of course, and Bert Auburn, being pretty inaccurate, very shaky. It seems like he's just kind of like a coin flip, you know. coin flip kicker at this point where he just it's 50-50 chance, and even then, like especially outside of the 40, it's more of like a 1 in 4 chance, it seems like, that he'll hit that. So we'll see what happens there. Um, but yeah, really what it came down to, and again, you hit it on the head, I think, is running the ball. Without a run game, our team very much, I feel like, has a arm tied behind his back because Quinn has become such an up and down quarterback. His consistency has not been there since his first injury at the beginning of the season. I know he's come back and he's looked better, but I mean, he is so up and down quarter by quarter, you just don't know what you're going to get. And that sucks. And obviously, we've been talking about this for half the season, but it's kind of the reality of the situation. And at this point, it is what it is, and you got to work around it. The running game helps aid that. And if we don't have it, if it doesn't work, then our offense is totally capped off. Um, that's a big thing. And then just red zone. Um, offense has been awful. We can't score a touchdown. I mean, we can score a touchdown, one touchdown per game, it seems like at this point. But the fact that we had so many yards in the first half of the game and we only had, what, like 13 points, it was very infuriating. And I think all of us knew that, the chickens were going to come home to roost with that one because um, you can't you can't do that, and against a team like Georgia, where I know they're not what they this team isn't the typical Georgia that we're used to, but even then, like, they're still immensely talented and well coached, and obviously have their flaws, but you know you, you can't do that. um and we can't continue. I obviously, like, we're going to rely on our defense. That is going to be the strength of this team, but you can't continue to just have them bail you out and bail you out and bail you out and bail you out. Like, eventually that dam is going to break just a little bit. And that's what happened in the second half is new quarterback came in, and I think he kind of freaked a few players out, and, new tendencies, new play calls. Clearly Georgia rallied around him, so I don't think it was all just um scheme. I think Georgia stepped it up a lot in the second half. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what it did it in was we couldn't do enough on offense, and we ultimately on defense couldn't get quite enough stops to hold off a offense that can barely score right now. So very frustrating altogether. Not the game that we wanted. It started out great. I was really feeling good, even though we weren't scoring touchdowns immediately. It was kind of like, yeah, we're going to have our way eventually. Eventually this is going to open up. Second quarter, I feel like, is always the strength of this team this season, and it didn't happen. So credit to Georgia, like you said. Um, yeah, some weird officiating too, but I don't think anything that um, was like make or break for the game. Certainly a bit ticky-tacky. It was kind of frustrating to see Georgia get all the calls and Texas get like none. But I think towards the end of the game, it got a little bit better and it seemed more fair. But even then, yeah, lot to lot to be frustrated about for that game.
Right. Yeah. And regarding the officials, I think if they're going to call these ticky-tack holds every time we get a 5 yard run on an
Yeah,
outside zone, just call it for Georgia as well, because you could go back and watch that Trevor Etienne big run he busted. There was like four different holds on that play by the standard that the refs were throwing at us, holding penalties at us. Just call it consistently, and then same with like the roughing the passer on Anthony
yeah,
Hill.
that was bad.
That wasn't anything, and then they called one on us, which was less on Colin Simmons. So just, and that's not the reason we lost. We had so many chances to win regardless. I don't want to throw the refs is like the reason that we lost. Like, we lost because we blew it. But I want to circle back to Quinn real fast. I thought Quinn played well. I thought he played about as good as he can play in that circumstance. Um, I think just Quinn Ewers is inherently going to limit us offensively just because he lacks the ability to extend plays and be a playmaker off schedule because it has to be lined up perfectly for him, and he has to have a good pocket to be effective. And he can do that. He can make you pay downfield. He made some good throws actually to Matt Golden and Isaiah Bond over the middle. But as soon as it gets off script, and as soon as there's some chaos, it's just he'll take a sack or just throw a questionable ball, and then the drive will die immediately, or he'll throw a pick. So it's just hard. And then we do get into the red zone, and in the red zone, I think it's partially to blame Quinn. But if you look at the numbers, we're not running the ball well at all in the red zone. Like we cannot run for like a positive gain in the red zone for whatever reason right now. So I think being able to run in the red zone has to be a focus going up against Clemson and going forward in the playoff because that'll open up more, especially in the RPO game and the play action game, because we're kind of, you know, playing with one hand behind our back when we can't establish that run, in the red area. So that's one thing. And it was really crazy to see us drop so many balls, 8 drops, I want to say. That's very uncharacteristic of our team this year. I mean, we're known to have penalties. We're known to have bad special teams. We know that about us. But dropping balls is not something that we've had as an issue. So that was unfortunate. And hopefully that gets cleaned up. Defense, of course, saved the day. Yet again, they're the real deal. Shout out PK. Thank God Makuba wasn't ejected for targeting on that one hit. I don't know how that dude held onto that ball, but if
Yeah,
he
I
would have
know.
and we would have recovered it, that would have been the game. But luckily, Makuba's fine, and he will be able to play in the first half against Clemson in the Makuba Bowl. But yeah, man, it was a fun game to watch, but so frustrating and kind of just like emblematic of our season. For how good we are, it also seems like we're really bad. It's the weirdest thing about this team. It's like we play so like lackadaisical, very undisciplined a lot of the time. We have really bad special teams, and even so, and we can not even really get touchdowns right now down the stretch, which is partially on Quinn. A lot of reasons go into it, but mostly on Quinn, I would say. And yet we're still like a top three team, still the favorite tied with Oregon for in Vegas to win it all this year. So it's just crazy for how flawed of a team we are, how we're also so good at the same time. So I just hope we can play our best ball down the stretch, but it's really just frustrating and really just weird. I've never really been a fan of a Texas team like this. It's kind of a uncharted territory for me as a fan. But hey, I mean, we're in it. We're in the playoff, and we're favored on Saturday, so we got a shot.
Yeah. Last thing about the game is, I mean, this falls on coaching too. I think Sark he needs to be better. Some of the play calls were fabulous. Like the fourth down, Arch Manning snap between the legs to Jaden Blue. Like that was, I'm like, oh, hold on to well, not hold on to it. Now it's on film, but I almost kind of wish that he waited on that play because that was so genius. For like an incredibly big moment, which I guess it was. Fourth down in the SEC championship game, but um, yeah, but a lot of his other play calls just. What frustrates me is like at this point, Sark should know Quinn's tendencies at the back of his hand. He should know what kind of throws Quinn is capable of making, what he struggles with. And I just feel like he never gives him any favors. And just, Quinn, what are you good at? What's the throw that you're good at doing? And let's stick to that. Because so especially in like crunch time, I don't know why, but his play calls just get he keeps and part of it's on Quinn, part of it's on Sark, part of it's on the receivers as a full team, issue. But I feel like I keep seeing them run these plays where Quinn's like lofting a ball into like a bucket on the field, and the receiver just has to run it just like it's not like a pass to a receiver. It's like a lob, that you're trying to hit this. And I know that that's how certain routes work and everything like that. But it just seems like so low probability whenever I feel like there were so many like incomplete passes where the receiver just couldn't get to the spot. And I think Quinn was just like, getting the ball one step, two step, throw it to his spot and not lead a receiver, not look at his targets, not go through progressions. It's all just
Yeah.
go and hit a spot. And it's not the timing for whatever reason is rarely hitting. But then yeah, then you see Quinn like actually go through reads on occasional plays and like hit, that the one touchdown to DeAndre Moore, like that was a great pass. Um Went through a few reads, hit him right over the middle. Great pass, get great catch and touchdown. Um so I don't know. It frustrates me whenever I like that overtime drive was very frustrating. The last drive of the game to get us into overtime was frustrating because it's like, like this is Steve Sarkisian we're talking about. Like if you can't like it felt like the Washington game last year where it's like our offense has the ball and we can end it. Like we should be a team where like it's like, okay, it's over, kind of like Vince Young 2005, just give him the ball back and we got this. And that's not the case. Feels like the opposite. Feels like, oh, our defense will win us the game. Like don't bother with the offense, like 2 minute drive, whatever, win the game. Like that's not gonna happen, it seems like at this point. And hopefully that gets adjusted, or has gotten adjusted, I should say, over this bye week leading up to this game ahead. But yeah, it the whole team needs to improve if they really want to be serious about winning a championship. And I think these first Clemson ahead, and then if we beat Clemson, Arizona State, I think those games you can get by just by being the superior talent team. But semifinals and finals, we're gonna have to clean up those efficiencies for sure. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, I think you're spot on with the low probability throws by Quinn. Those happen way too much. That's always bothered me. He quits on plays or goes to check downs or throws a stupid deep ball that's not even playable for the
right.
receiver too often, which sets the whole drive back, and those usually result in punts, and then the drive's killed, and then no points are scored. So that's a good point you made, Trevor. And also, I think Sark needs to. We were talking about this in the last episode of Texas Platinum. The screen game does not work against Georgia. It doesn't work against A&M. It doesn't work against any team that has 4 and 5. Really good, any good upper half SEC team. It doesn't work because they're fast and the book is out on that. The throwback screens, those don't
Yeah.
work anymore. And Sark was still adamant on trying to run those against Georgia in crunch time, like game-winning drive potentially 3rd and 10 at like the 15-yard line. We throw a little
Yeah.
backside screen to Wingo. Like, dude, what are you doing? And we're throwing downfield on them and having success against their corners. Even the slants over the middle were money. We
Yeah.
quit on those. Moore was cooking them on them over the middle. Same with Wingo. So I think Sark, just yeah, well didn't have call his best game, and he's really struggled a lot this year. Just getting this offense to be in rhythm all the time. A lot of that's Quinn's fault and other people's fault, not just Quinn. A lot of different variables go into it, but I agree, Trevor. Sark is not helping the offense out in a lot of ways, where I think he can, and hopefully he was able to self scout a little bit over the bye week, and hopefully we have a better we play to our strengths more and incorporate Arch more. Don't just bring him in for one play and have him be a wildcat quarterback. Bring him in
Yeah.
for a series. Let him throw. Let him roll out and do like the RPOs. Just let him see what he can do. We need points, and I have this in the document. It's win at all costs now. If our offense is stalling again against Clemson in the first half, put in Arch, see if he can get us a spark. You can go back to Quinn later, but like there's no time to waste anymore. Like the urgency is now. The defense is good enough to win you a national championship. So Sark has to have all hands on deck offensively to help that defense out where we can win 4 games and win the natty. So I hope that's the mentality that him and the offense are taking going forward.
Well said. Any other SEC thoughts?
Um, just a kind of a random thought. There was like no burnt orange there, and I'm not even mad at Texas fans for not
Were you
going to.
there?
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, just from what you saw on the. and the
Yeah, just like the
TV.
feedback I saw on Twitter and on TV, and it's just like it's so silly how like these fans have to go to all these neutral sites now at the end of the year. It's just like logistically going to be hard with the expanded playoff, and Texas is playing at Atlanta in the SEC championship last week. Now we're going to be playing in DKR the week before Christmas. And then if we win that, we're back in Atlanta the following week on New Year's. And then if we win that, we're playing in Jerry's World. It's just a lot of, and then if you win that, you're back in Atlanta in the Natty. So like, it's just a lot of neutral sites. It's a lot of
Yeah.
money you're asking your and time off. You're asking your fans to pony up. So I think it's hopefully going forward once they evaluate how the playoffs are structured, that they can make it more feasible for the fans to attend these games, because that's what like makes college football the best, I feel like, and it's not. That's what separates it from the NFL in my eyes. So that was just a random thought I wanted to spew out on the internet.
Yeah. And that's a great segue actually, because now let's talk about the playoff. Um, let me add to it since that is kind of a good initial thought. The current system is not very good. The ranking, the whole, and I know why they did it. Because what would have happened if it was like we're only going to go by ranking, top 12 teams ranked, and we, do our matchups by ranking, the final four, the first seed teams, there are top four teams ranked on the year. Because what would have happened is it would have been like two SEC, well, it would have been, yeah, two SEC teams, Oregon and who would have been four?
Two SEC teams, Oregon, Penn State, maybe.
Mm, I
I
don't
don't know.
know. Maybe Penn State. Yeah, I mean Penn State was five. So yeah, probably. Yeah, so it would have been it would have been the Big Ten and the SEC. It would have been like literally like doesn't even matter who won the conferences in reality. Um, it was like the two conference contenders for the two Power Five conferences. And I'm sure that the ACC and other conferences out there wouldn't have signed off on that. Um, at least I don't think. I don't know. But that would have happened and that would have continued to happen for years to come. So they developed this system that turns out to be really dumb, and now it's giving Boise State, like a cakewalk into the semifinals. And no offense to them, like they've had a good year, but I don't think they're super deserving of that. And even like Arizona State, like they got us or Clemson next week, but they got a, pretty easy walk in. Well, in terms of getting the first buy, but yeah, it's structured in a way that doesn't really make sense right now, and hopefully that's changed. But like we hinted in the last video, this may turn out to be a favor for Texas because we're now seated at the five,
Mhm.
4 or 5 position, and rather than having to play Indiana or Notre Dame, now we're having to play Clemson. And then if we win that, Arizona State, which I think is you know, which is a lot better than having to play those other teams that are pretty hot, or having to rematch Georgia again, which would I don't want to see Georgia unless it's for the national championship, which will be the case now given this current format. But yeah, it's just not kind of a frustrating setup at the moment, but um, it is what it is, and got to make the most of it for now, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, our side of the bracket's way tougher than the other side, without a doubt. We have Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, Tennessee. Arizona State is really hot right now. That's not an easy game if we make it to them. But I think it's crazy how like Penn State loses to Oregon in the SEC or in the Big Ten championship, and they have like the easiest path to the Natty now. They play SMU at home,
Yeah,
a private school of like 10,000 kids. They're gonna beat SMU, I would imagine. Maybe SMU wins that. Penn State's not that good, but anyways, they'll be favored against SMU. They should win that. They probably will. And they win that, and they get Boise State in the quarterfinal. They win
Yeah,
that, then they get Georgia or Notre Dame, and Georgia's without their starting quarterback now. I
right.
know Stockton looked good against us, but believe me, once these teams have to get to game plan for him, that's going to be a whole different situation.
I
And
mean,
and
it only took us a quarter, you know. Really what killed us was that third quarter. As soon as it got into the fourth, you know, they won it, sure, but I think we gave other teams a lot of film.
yeah, exactly. We were the guinea pigs, and he played hero ball. He played well, and maybe he'll get better. But either way, like they're better off with Carson Beck as of now. I would definitely imagine. But yeah, it's just such a crazy flawed system. It'll be fun to watch, man. I'm excited to watch these games. Ohio State, Tennessee is going to be so much fun, but
Yeah.
they could have planned this way better. And I don't want to like just be a complainer about it because I love football and I'll watch anything, but it's just such a flawed format, but that's all right. Hopefully Texas takes advantage of it because we got a pretty good draw, I would say. Not the best. Like it's not a cakewalk because you got to beat two Clemson. They have Dabo. They have 4 and 5 stars. They have Klubnik coming home. That's not an easy give me. I don't care what the spread is. That game could get weird in a hurry, especially if Quinn continues and our offense continues to stall. Arizona State with Scatterbo, they're like the hottest team in the country right now. They blew out Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. I do think we match up good with them, so that's a good thing. But still, like that, they're not a pushover. They've been on a heater rate, blowing everyone out recently. Um, and then if you get past them, then you get Oregon, Ohio State, which is those that's like the cream of the crop. Those are like the title favorites along with us in Georgia. So that's not a give me at all. We've seen Dylan Gabriel in the past, and I don't know if we want to see him again. And then if you get past them, you got to potentially beat Georgia, which obviously our team has struggled with. But even if it's not Georgia, it's probably Notre Dame would be my guess if Georgia doesn't come out of that side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Notre Dame would be a tough matchup for us because they're built just like Georgia. They have a great defense, great secondary. They're good up front, but they have a good quarterback, Riley Leonard, who's a gamer and he can run. And um, we'd probably be favoring against Notre Dame, hypothetically, but still, like the path is tough, is what I'm trying to get at. So hopefully our team takes it, one game at a time. Cliche, of course, but just got to get past Clemson and then see where you're at.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel bad for Ohio State, Tennessee, Oregon. Like the fact that those three teams have to play each other before even getting to the semis is kind
Yeah,
of ridiculous.
and they get
Like,
us. Yeah, they have it worse than we do.
yeah, I'd be irate if I was one, especially Oregon, you know, number one team in the country, and they get rewarded by having to play the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee in the first round, like, or well, you know, quarterfinals or whatever you want to call it. Um, That's ridiculous. Like that shows a very flawed system, in my opinion. And I know that, you know, it so happens to be that Ohio State's 8 and Tennessee's 9, so it shouldn't be that bad. So maybe chalk it up to just a weird way that the rankings, you know, ultimately fell. But um, yeah, it's a bit flawed. But I think everyone's in agreement on that one. I haven't heard anyone say like, oh yeah, I love how this is set up. So yeah. All right, so now we've ventured into the part of the show where yet another Matt has entered the chat. So, welcome everyone to Matt Wilson. Can I say that?
Absolutely, that's fine.
Perfect. I'm not even going to edit that out. Anyway, good friend of Matt Myers and a Clemson fan. Myers, how about let me give you the proper introduction to Matt, and then we're gonna ask him what he thinks about this team and this game coming up.
Yeah, I mean Matt Wilson, we go way back. He's a good buddy of mine. He's a diehard Clemson fan. Grew up a Georgia fan, but I'll pass it to him. I want Matt to give us the rundown of Clemson this year and really where they're at with Dabo. It's kind of people are hedging on. I would imagine Clemson fans are hedging on Dabo at this point somewhat. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on y'all's team this year, and then we'll transition into the game later. But just first of all, what are your thoughts on 2024 Clemson Tigers?
Man, a lot of good and a lot of bad. I feel like when I talk, I might sound more negative, but we all know how the season started off against Georgia. I knew that game was probably going to be a disaster, and it was 6-0 at halftime, and we just kind of let it get away from us. Georgia just made the adjustments, which is something that I'll talk about continuously. But then we kind of played some easy teams, run of 6 games. They weren't very good opponents, but we were putting up monstrous numbers on offense. And I was like, okay, you're kind of bringing me back in a little bit. But I was kind of hesitant. I said, I want to wait and see until we play someone a little better. Then we played a team called Louisville. And that game was at home at night with 2 weeks. We had a bye week the week before. And we just came out and got completely dominated. The final score was 33-21. It wasn't even remotely as close as the final score indicated. But then I was completely dejected. We played a few more. I think next week was Virginia Tech. We were terrible the first half. Virginia Tech wasn't very good. We ended up winning 24-14. Played Pitt the next week, blew a double-digit lead. We won on Klubnik's 55-yard run. Citadel, doesn't matter. South Carolina, went to that game, blew another lead in the fourth quarter. Then SMU blew a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter and won on a last-second field goal. So I guess my kind of assessment of Clemson is when they play teams that are no match for them, they run over them. Our offense is better from last year, but we struggle a lot against teams with even a decent defense. So I think we have a lot of coaching issues more than talent issues. That's kind of my take on Clemson. I think they're good, but they're not as good as they should be.
Right, right. And honestly, when I was watching Clemson over the past couple of years, I always thought Cade Klubnik was kind of the reason y'all were bad until this year. I think Cade Klubnik's gotten a lot better. Like, honestly, we were talking about this a couple of days ago, Wilson. He's probably going to be the best quarterback we've faced all year. I would say it would be Cade Klubnik. He's got great numbers and he's dynamic. So the storyline is him coming home to Austin. He went to Austin Westlake, played with a bunch of our teammates there, won state titles. What are your thoughts on that's what concerns me is Cade Klubnik just going supernova against us and kind of carrying that offense, because our defense is great, but our offense is so bad right now that, shoot, if y'all scored 25 points, y'all might be able to win because Quinn has been so bad. So what are your thoughts on Cade Klubnik matching up against our defense?
Yeah, Cade is great. I'm so glad we have him. It was looking like for a while he might be another DJU.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he wasn't. He's really turned it around this year. Yeah, he's made a lot of great throws, and he can escape the pocket and run when he needs to. But like I said, we've really struggled as an offensive unit just across the board when we faced good defenses, and we're playing a really good defense. So I don't know if we're gonna break that trend on Saturday, but if I was you, I'd be very confident in your defense. I think Cade is going to play well. I don't know if he's going to pop off necessarily.
Yeah.
What about the rest of the team? How are you feeling with defense, offense, special teams?
I guess special teams is funny, but we'll get into that. But yeah, let's talk about our running back situation. I don't know. Phil Maffa is great, but he's hurt. He's had 200. I looked this up. He had 214 carries, and our backup, who tore his ACL last week, had, I think, 40. So there's a huge disparity. We relied way too much on Maffa, and so now we're going to kind of go in with a banged up Phil Maffa and our third and fourth string running backs, who I think have 40 carries between them. And that's really concerning when, you're going to ask him to block. Because I don't really see Phil Maffa being much of a factor in this game. He's played past 2 weeks and it hasn't been very good. As for our offensive line, I think they're a very good unit. We've only given up 22 sacks all year. I think between Georgia and South Carolina, we only gave up a combined 3 sacks. So they pass block very well. against really good fronts, and I know Texas has one, so I'm kind of interested to see how they do. They've answered the call. Our wide receivers, TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco, and Antonio Williams, they're very, very good. When we throw screens, that's when our offense kind of slows down. When we go downfield, um, that's when I think it really, our offense really moves. And I'm really interested in seeing um, your secondary against our receivers because I do think we might have the best receiving core. I don't know. What do you think the best receiving core you've seen is?
Best receiving
We've
core,
seen so far.
not Georgia,
No,
not
definitely not Georgia.
um, Kentucky. I want to say Barryon Brown, Dane Key, but
Very on
that
Brown.
goes to show, yeah,
They
there's not really
haven't really been challenged. I mean, maybe Georgia, but they're pretty
Yeah.
inconsistent.
Those three wide receivers I mentioned, they're very fast, really athletic guys. I'm looking forward to that. I hope we try to attack downfield because I don't anticipate us having much success running the ball. But when it comes to defense, man, Matt Myers knows I've talked a lot about our D coordinator. I've got a lot of issues with him. I feel like our defense has fallen off a lot since Brent Venables left, which is understandable, but there's too much talent right now. I think we're ranked 60th. We've had trouble stopping the run, and I think if Texas is able to establish a run early, it's going to be bad. On the D line, we got some dudes. I think we might be able to pressure Quinn a lot, and he's not the most mobile guy, so I think I think we'll be able to get to him a few times, and we'll see how he handles it. But like I said, if you guys are able to establish a run early like you did against Texas A&M, it's going to be bad. And secondary wise, they're young, but they've hung in there for the most part. I think Texas will probably have the best receivers we've faced though, so I'm also concerned with that. If we don't get to Quinn, I think it could be a bad day. Put it that way.
I bet y'all will get to Quinn. I would be confident y'all will have multi sacks and he'll be uncomfortable because y'all do have. I know Peter Woods comes to mind, but I know y'all recruit the D line very
Yeah.
well always. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that battle. I'm kind of hoping maybe Quinn can do enough to not put Arch Manning in because a mobile quarterback, if you've seen how Clemson does against that, it's not very good.
Hmm.
that's funny because we were talking about that and like Sark, we're hoping he kind of goes into that win at all cost modes, which would include putting an arch for extended time, just to like get a spark and just add a wrinkle. And Clemson has been susceptible to that. So yeah, I'd love to see Arch get in a major capacity, whether it's just a couple series, just to throw a change up and just see how y'all handle it because he's dynamic for sure.
I would anticipate us not handling it well. Um, if you've seen, I guess maybe I could kind of get into the adjustment parts of things. This team has gotten outscored the past two games 24-3 in the fourth quarter, I think.
Yeah.
They're just it's hard to watch. Our offense, like against SMU, we scored three touchdowns on our first three possessions, and I think we went seven straight possessions of just punts. I think we had like maybe 30 yards total. And it doesn't help our defense out. I don't know if they get tired or we just start playing this prevent, and it seems like everything starts to fall apart in the fourth quarter. And I think it's going to be a close first half. The second half, when the adjustments come, that's really what kind of concerns me. So yeah, that's my opinion of that.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, though, I feel like Texas hasn't been a great second half team either. So um, it'll kind of be a matchup and I guess see who's better later on in the game. Um, how about let's have Myers and I add a few points. Myers, let me hand it off to you. How are you feeling about the matchup? And I mean, obviously Texas is favored, by I think the current over under is 11 right now, which feels fair to me. Um, and has the home field advantage. How are you feeling going into the game?
I think a lot of people are saying that hammer Clemson, and I kind of agree with them, like in terms of that. But I think also the perception of Texas is tainted because of Georgia. We have a Georgia problem, and that could be we have an elite team problem because that's the only elite team we've played. But we've beaten every team we've played by double digits, except for Vanderbilt, who scored a garbage touchdown after the pick six was called back to cut it to make it look better. And I look at Clemson and they beat SMU. SMU's a good team. So
Yeah.
like I think like the recency thing comes into it a lot because like the last week of the year it looked like Clemson was hot. They were nearly blowing out SMU, then they blew their lead, but they still won. And then we were struggling to score a touchdown against Georgia. So I think that's factoring into a lot of the thoughts of Clemson to keep this close. And honestly, I tend to agree with that. Like I don't trust Quinn Ewers and this offense right now enough. And I think Sark, like Trevor was saying earlier in the video, Sark is struggling getting the offense in rhythm, helping Quinn playing to his strengths. Hopefully, the bye week helps us to kind of be more intentional about going downfield, less side to side, less screen, because Clemson has guys that we're not going to be able to run screens on Clemson. They're too fast, too athletic. So I hope that's part of the game plan. But if I had to pick a side right now, I'm picking Clemson to cover that, and I kind of like Clemson covering. And I also think the line at being 51.5 is kind of high. I feel like this could be a very low scoring game where it's
Yeah,
just,
I agree.
Mhm.
what do you think, Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, very much the same thoughts. I see a world where Texas gets his mojo back and wins by double digits, two touchdowns plus very comfortably. But I mean, you just look at the last month or so of football with this team, and offensively, we just aren't able to put up points very well. I want to say the last time that we really were scoring at ease was against Florida, and I think a big part of that is not a big part, but a sizable part is injuries. I mean, Isaiah Bond going down. I I don't know his status actually on the Clemson game, but even if he is playing, he's clearly not at 100% and is nowhere near the player that he is when he's healthy. I think that that has a big wrinkle, um, at least in our receiver room. But yeah, really, it's yeah the points that coupled with the Cade Klubnik homecoming, just has me feeling that like you were saying at the beginning of the video, or beginning of this recording at least, was, how good is he going to be back at home? And, you know, what kind of environment is this going to bring out of Klubnik? I don't know if I've seen him in a ton of really big environments, and I'm not sure quite how big of a gamer he is, but I know that us, when we were watching him in high school, when he was, looking at Texas, seemed like someone that definitely rise to big occasions and played well in big games. And I would say that, yeah, he probably is the best quarterback that we faced all year. And without a doubt, in my opinion, has the highest ceiling of any quarterback that we've played this year. So, um, I don't know. I suspect kind of a close, lower scoring. I mean, not totally low scoring, because I do think that, Texas is going to find a way to put up more points than they have in the past few weeks, but I still don't see them just running away with this game. If they do, I'd be a bit surprised and pleasantly surprised. But yeah, that's kind of my initial thought. How about this, Matt? What what would it take for Clemson to win in your eyes? And how confident would you be in Clemson pulling off the upset?
It's gonna take Cade Klubnik's best game. I think we're gonna have to force some turnovers, which we have been good at doing that.
You have.
We have a very, very good turnover margin, I think.
Mhm.
Um, Trying to think here. I just think that we're gonna have to throw the ball downfield. I feel like when we're aggressive and like kind of Matt was saying about Texas going north to south, when we go north to south, the ball, I think a lot of teams have had trouble covering our wide receivers. It's when the screens start and the conservative short passing game starts. That's when I feel like we might slow down. I really think we're just gonna have to try to stretch the field on you guys. As for like how confident I am a win, I'd say like 20% chance of us winning. I'm not particularly confident that we're gonna come in and win. So
Hmm. So
That
you're in agreement with the odds makers then, because I
yeah,
think that's around
overall,
80-20 at the moment.
yeah. I mean, look, if it's not really the players that I don't have faith in. I don't really have faith in this coaching staff overall. There's just
Mm,
we've got some issues for sure.
hmm.
I think I think it would be interesting to see if Dabo and Garrett Riley try to just go downfield on us because we really haven't played a quarterback that can push the ball downfield effectively all
Right.
year. Talk about our schedule being bad. I think a lot of that's like we haven't played a dynamic like pro NFL passer that's just going downfield at us. I mean, Pavia, he's good, but he's not testing you downfield every play. Michael Van Buren with Mississippi State beat us downfield a couple times because he throws a nice deep ball. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea, Wilson. That I think that's the way y'all would generate some points. But the strength of our team is preventing the big play. So it would have to be like breaking the trend but I think it's worth trying because I do agree with Maffa banged up. There's just not wise to try to pound the rock continually when you can just go downfield and see what Klubnik can create with the receivers.
Right.
But
I mean, yeah, it's an empty the clip type of game. That's the beauty of the playoff is, every game matters. So yeah,
I mean, I just kind of feel like
try
sometimes
whatever works.
we have a tendency to sit on leads and just
Yeah,
kind of get into a box. I hope we don't do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we somehow end up with a lead. We start doing it. We've done it all year.
yeah.
all right, little old Clemson coming to Austin, and Matt Wilson and I were actually going to the game together. So I want to hear Wilson's thoughts on coming to DKR. I don't think you've been there, and how long? It's been so long. What are you looking forward to about Saturday?
I think it's. I went to the Oklahoma State game back in the Mac Brown days, but it was a long, long time ago. But man, I don't know. It's just college football just has such the great environment. Just the bands, just watching everyone tailgating. Texas is might be one of the biggest stadiums I've ever been to. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to hearing the crowd, just walking around Austin, seeing everyone. Um, I don't really know how Texas fans are. I don't know if they're friendly or unfriendly. Clemson, Texas don't really have much history, so I don't really anticipate too much
Yeah.
hostility. But yeah, I just think it's going to be a raucous environment. I love getting in the stadium, watching the warm-ups, watching the band, everyone come out. Just the excitement, dude. There's nothing like college football.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and yeah. Texas has never played Clemson before, actually, which is crazy. It's the first
Hmm.
time.
Time.
So I think it's so cool. I hope y'all travel pretty well. I'm sure y'all will, and it'll be cool to see the two iconic uniforms on the field together. Are y'all wearing the orange pants? Do we know, or is it the white pants?
Because this is not, is this, usually for bowl games, we wear orange pants or championship games, we wear orange pants. This isn't technically a bowl game, I don't think. So
Yeah,
I think,
No.
I think we'll probably wear white pants, I hope.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but, yeah, I hope for the white pants because I like those uniforms more.
What about the purple pants?
Nah, no chance you'll see those. Yeah, not gonna happen. No way.
Yeah,
all
be
right, last
fun.
thing I want to say before we go to predictions and get out of here is when Andrew Makuba hit the portal and went to Texas, Matt Wilson was like, dude sucks. He got beat out. He didn't say that, but he was hinting like he got beat, which he probably got beat out. It's probably why like something probably happened last year. I will say though, Makuba has been a godsend for us this year.
Yeah,
He's
it's been
played
huge.
so good, made a huge play after huge play. So I just want to say you were wrong about Andrew Makuba.
No, I still wish we had him, but it's true. He lost. He was losing his snaps to Khalil Barnes. You'll see him on Saturday. But I mean, look, I'd still love to have him. Maybe he'll get a targeting penalty, get ejected,
Ah,
help us out a little bit.
He's known to do that or walk that line, so wouldn't put it past him. But
Yeah,
that's just one of the many cool storylines of this game. That Klubnik, there's just
yeah,
Dabo. It's gonna be cool to see
Bath.
Dabo on the sidelines of DKR. That's like a old
yeah.
guard of like Saban's gone, Mac Brown's gone, Dabo's still there. Like it's gonna be cool to see him in
We did get our first transfer portal player yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. That's
That's
crazy.
exciting.
Dabo's finally adapting to that.
Finally, yeah. I'm also looking forward to the two disastrous special team units of Clemson, Texas getting together.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
that'll
And
be a mess.
that kicker nailed that for the win against SMU. At least he'll have a
True.
kicker.
At least,
it's
yeah.
really interesting. I was looking, so our kicker's good, but we've had 8 blocked field goals, and then your kicker can't make field goals. And I was looking, both of our punters are like ranked near the bottom for average yard per attempt. So I'm kind of interested in seeing and like who's gonna lose the game in special teams, like who's gonna get hurt more.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
like both of these teams are that's not their strengths at all.
well, I wonder if we can house one against you guys.
Maybe we've been pretty good at coverage, so but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. We sound very similar to Clemson in a lot of ways. Like our teams are very similar. It sounds like offensively, special teams,
Yeah.
Yeah.
same
So
dynamics. So
up and down, but good enough to be here. So any other kind of final thoughts before we get into predictions?
No, man, just looking forward to being there. Hopefully, it's not a blowout. I do see that could happen. That there the possibilities in my mind, but I hope we come prepared.
Well said.
yeah.
All right, Myers, how about let me have you do Madrid's prediction and then let me get yours.
Sounds good. Yeah. So we texted Madrid before this, and he said he envisions this game going a lot like the A&M game, just a anemic offense, defensive heavy game. But he's got Texas winning 24-10 and somewhat of a rock fight, sloppy game. So he has Texas covering, but going well under the line of 51.5. So 24-10. Madrid has Texas moving on to the quarterfinals. So I was talking this whole show about how I expect this to be a close game, and I expect the defense to really carry both teams this game, like a low scoring game. But earlier, I guess I'm changing my mind on the fly. Earlier, I saw this game playing out where Clemson's got too good of an offense. I think too many weapons. They're going to score some points on our defense. I don't care how good our defense is. Clemson's going to put up more than 20 points, I would say, on Saturday, just because some hero ball from Klubnik and those receivers, and their O line is pretty good in pass pro from what Wilson was saying. So I expect Clemson to score. I do think that Clemson's defense, people think of Clemson, they think of their defense, but this year Clemson's defense has been susceptible. I mean, I think of the Louisville game a lot. That's given me a lot of solace and hope that we can put up some points on Clemson. And I think Quinn plays a decent to good game. And I think Arch gets in and scores us a touchdown too. So I got Texas winning 34-24. So I have Clemson covering, but I think it's kind of a high scoring game. I think maybe the third quarter kind of we see a lot of fireworks, back and forth touchdowns, but Texas pulls away at the end to win by 10.
Yeah. Well, actually, let me hand it over to you, Matt.
Well, for me, Clemson's just shown me who they are repeatedly too much, and we just get outcoached, I feel, every second half. I think it's going to be a really ugly first half. I think Texas fans are going to be calling for Manning to come in. I think we're going to get to Quinn Ewers a little bit, sack him a few times. It's going to be maybe something like 13-7 or like 10-3, just a really close first half. But I just do not trust Clemson's coaching staff to make the adjustments, and I know Sark is going to go in and make adjustments. I think Texas is going to win 27-17. I anticipate we're going to have some trouble scoring the ball. I think we're going to have trouble moving the ball downfield. I think Texas will get the running going late in the game. In the fourth quarter, they'll maybe score a touchdown and put it away. So 27-17 Texas.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in agreement with both of y'all in terms of kind of how this game's going to play out. I got Texas 31-21. Um, very much in agreement. I would say a little bit lower for Clemson, but I do think that the Klubnik homecoming is gonna, I think, boost up the Clemson offense, just enough for them to be able to get past 20. Now, I don't you guys, at least lately, haven't really been, scoring a ton of points, so that's why I have you capped off at 21. Otherwise, I'd potentially say more with a homecoming game. So really, that 21 is kind of with that, homecoming game edge, if there's much of an edge there. But yeah, I think that Texas kind of gets a little bit back in rhythm offensively and is able to put up their 31 points, be back at home, back in kind of a comfortable place. Um, and then, like you said, Matt, I think the run game is something that Texas is able to reestablish. I know that you have a good defensive front, but I think, I mean, we looked really good running the ball against other teams lately outside of Georgia. So my head is, kind of at that, it may be a Georgia problem. And Texas reestablishes that after a week off and, you know, get Wisner feeling good again and get our offensive line feeling good again. And ultimately, we're able to kind of run out clock and not necessarily run out, blow out Clemson. I don't think that's really in the cards for what this team is. This team feels like a team that we get a lead and then we kind of just sit on you, till the game's over. So, yeah, I'm thinking 31-21.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think the winner of this game will be advancing to the semifinals. I think if it's us or Clemson, we'll beat Arizona State. Knock on wood. So I feel like, and then if you win that, I mean, who knows if we run into Ohio State there. I feel like Ryan Day could fumble that pretty easily.
You don't think Tennessee can get it done?
I think
I
they
have a weird
can,
feeling,
but
I have a weird feeling Tennessee might win Saturday.
Two terrible fan bases. Just want to say that. Probably two of the worst.
Yeah.
yeah.
Something's got to give, but that's gonna be a fun one to watch, man. We're gonna have to find somewhere after the game to post up and watch that.
Yeah, one of us will be really salty. Probably me.
Yeah, bro. I don't
Yeah.
know. I've never been to a game with you where we're like enemies, so this will be interesting. I'll keep it classy. I always do, but if we lose, I might be very quiet.
Oh, yeah.
I
I mean,
understand.
if Texas loses, it's gonna be a shit show.
Oh yeah, there'll be fire Sark on the message boards, which is obviously crazy. That'll be out there.
Yeah. Total Armageddon.
But
All
yeah.
right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we hope that you have a great time in Austin with Matt Myers. Uh, like we said at the beginning of the video, like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate your viewership and your continued support for this channel. So you certainly don't have to do this, Matt, but horns up. We'll catch you in the next video, and we'll see what happens with this matchup. Y'all take care.
Here's the thumbnail right there.